and how to lose, and how to choose.
Well, hello, this is Linda Carbonell, and welcome to Walking Through Life. Today I have three guests, and we're going to be discussing NAMI, Vermont. So I'm really excited about this. And I would like to start with Mitzi. Now, Mitzi's going to give us a presentation about, what is it?
In Our Own Voice program.
In Our Own Voices, in Our Voice. So Mitzi, do you want to give us a quick introduction of your name, where people can find out more information?
So I'm Mitzi Bachman, and I'm from Woodstock, Vermont, and I also live in New York City. And I am one of the In Our Own Voice presenters for this area. And the In Our Own Voice program, which you'll learn more about in a few minutes, is a program where consumers, mental illness consumers people who have mental illness, consumers is a word that NAMI uses, travel around to police stations, to family groups, to schools, to mental hospitals, and talk to people about our experience with mental illness and our successes in the light thereof. So you'll learn more about me, and the other people that I will be talking to will be telling you a little bit more about NAMI. Thanks. Hi, my name is Mitzi Bachman, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the In Our Own Voice NAMI program. This is a program where consumers, people who suffer from mental illness, go to police groups, to parent groups, to schools, to mental hospitals, and tell their story from their diagnosis, their dark days, all the way through until their successes. Normally the presentation involves a video, a 15-minute video, and we see a number of consumers tell their story, and then we have us, the live presenters, telling our story. Today we're not going to do the video. I'm just going to give you a short example of what an In Our Own Voice program would look like. An In Our Own Voice was started by NAMI a number of years ago. It's present in many, many states, and it makes a big difference for people when they can see real live people in front of them who have found success in spite of mental illness. So let me begin. We break our program down into 5 segments. There's dark days, there's acceptance, there's treatment, there's coping, and then there's success stories. So I'll go through them one at a time. Normally what we do is we go through one, we play the video, and then we take stories and we invite conversation with our audience. But today I'm just going to present to you so you can see what it is. There are excerpts from of the NAMI program on YouTube that you can just search NAMI In Our Own Voice or NAMI IOOV, and you can get some more excerpts of what this program looks like. So without any further ado, I will begin. For me, for my dark days, as long as I can remember, all my dark days were dark days. The prospect of getting out of bed or going to a birthday party or doing my homework or playing with a friend filled me with such an incredible sense of dread. I just didn't want to do any of it. I didn't realize that I was unusual. I assumed that everybody else was like me. I used to fantasize about no longer existing. I never considered suicide, but I just didn't want to exist anymore because life just wasn't fun. When I was 16, I discovered drugs and alcohol and boys as a way to ease that sense of dread. By college, I was a full-blown alcoholic. I would stay up days at a time doing cocaine and drinking, and I'd be the first one in the morning outside the packy store to get more beer. My own car ran me over one night. I'm very, very fortunate that I'm still alive. After college, I moved to San Francisco. I was in the food business, which was great for my drug and alcohol addiction. I worked for days straight, stayed up late at night, had a great time. After a number of days of doing cocaine and working really hard, I would sink into a deep, deep depression. Again, but I was functional, but I was emotionally a mess, inside a mess. And again, I thought that everyone else was just living like I was. After I moved to Maine in 1992 with my present husband, who was also an alcoholic, and we continued to drink until we had children. And once I had kids, I stopped drinking, but I replaced the drinking and the alcohol with other things that kept my mind off the dread. And that was volunteer work, helping everybody I could with everything. I became a real estate agent. I just ran around 24/7. And then one day in 2007, at the age of 42, I found myself in a closet banging my head against the wall, and I had no idea what was going on. So those are my dark days. Normally we'd break to video and questions, but I'm just going to continue. Acceptance is the next segment. And a friend came and scooped me up off the closet floor and took me to a doctor. And after 20 minutes of peppering me with questions and confirming with my husband that I was telling the truth and not lying, he diagnosed me with bipolar II disorder. He put me on medications to help me with this, and they helped me significantly. I accepted my diagnosis very quickly. My grandfather and my great-grandfather were both bipolar. My great-grandfather was institutionalized for 40 years, and my grandfather was a brilliant Harvard doctor who was ultimately lobotomized and died in a flop house in Texas at the age of 52. So while my family had never talked about any of that with me, and certainly no one had ever noticed that I was bipolar, when I was diagnosed, that came out. So I also set out to learn everything that I could about bipolar disorder, and I told everybody who I met that I was bipolar. And of course, people always wanted to know what that was and ask questions, so I learned about it. I told people in the parking lot, I told people at the grocery store, I just was true to my diagnosis and recognizing what it was. And I'm not a usual case. A lot of people very much struggle to recognize that they are. My mother, who is the daughter of my grandfather who was bipolar, had a very hard time accepting my diagnosis. She always used to tell me how wonderful my childhood was and didn't we have fun. And I eventually stopped talking to her because I had to, every time she called, I had to suck it up and pretend that everything was okay. And while I was getting better, everything was definitely not okay. So that's my story of acceptance. Next, we move on to treatment. And for me, my doctor put me on 2 meds right away. I was put on an antipsychotic to help me sleep and a mood stabilizer to stabilize my moods. And within a month, I wasn't depressed. And it was the first time in my life that I hadn't been depressed. I remember running into a friend who looked at me and she said, "You look different." And I said, "Well, I'm not depressed for the first time in my life." So I was very lucky. The antipsychotic did make me very drowsy, and I had to deal with that as a mother of 2 teenagers. But in general, I didn't have very many side effects. I'm very lucky. A lot of people do have side effects. One significant side effect for me is that people judge me for taking my medication. This is really my big thing that I'm trying to change in this world. People don't like it when you tell them that you are taking medicines to adjust your brain. I don't have a thyroid, and I take thyroid medication every day, and nobody judges me for that. But I tell somebody that I'm on a mood stabilizer, and they say, "Well, why can't you just suck it up?" And I know I can't suck it up. So I take my meds religiously. I don't ever not take my meds. And I'm proud of the fact that I take them and that I'm functioning now in this world. So that's my story of my treatment. The next piece of it is coping skills. And while the medication is a great piece of dealing with mental illness, it's not everything. Coping skills are very, very important. I take very good care of myself. I make sure I get as much sleep as I can, try to take a nap in the middle of the day if I can. I eat well, I exercise regularly, I do yoga every day. I've also created a plan with my family for when I feel myself sinking back into crisis, which I do. I am mostly stable, but I do at times have setbacks. So if I feel some mania coming on or some depression, I tell a family member that I will probably not be around for a couple days, and I'll call them if I need them. And if I'm manic, I like to do puzzles because I have all this mess in front of me and I can pull it all together and it keeps my brain occupied. It works really well for me. When I get depressed, I let myself go to bed. I watch a lot of television, and it's usually things like The Walking Dead, not Grey's Anatomy, things that can just keep my brain occupied and are fluffy and unreal. So both those things really, really help me get through and ride out my crises. I do know they're going to be short. When I was growing up, as I've told you, they lasted for weeks, months, years. Now it's usually just a number of days, and I know what's going on, and I just ride it out. So the other thing that I've done is that I've gotten involved with the In Our Own Voice program, and there's nothing better for coping than going around and talking to people and sharing my story and sharing my successes. And I'm also a life coach, so I help a lot of people with my life coaching as well. So all these things have really helped me very much to cope with my mental illness. The last part is successes, and this is my favorite part. My biggest success is that I got out of bed this morning, and I got out of bed yesterday morning and the day before that. So, and that's a really big thing for me. I raised 2 children. They're both at NYU. My daughter's studying film, and my son's studying drinking beer right now, but he's going to grow out of that, I think. I moved to New York City part-time. I live in Vermont part-time, and I do the In Our Own Voice program in New York City as well as up here in Vermont. We are just starting the In Our Own Voice program in Vermont. We're going to have our first training in June of 2016. So we're hoping to get consumers like me involved with that program. As I said, I started my own business. I'm a life coach, but I spent a significant amount of time working with NAMI, doing the In Our Own Voice programs, getting things started, and expanding our In Our Own Voice program. So that is the In Our Own Voice program. If you want more information on it, again, you can go to www.nami.org. There is a branch in each state, so you can find your branch and they'll tell you what kind of programs that they offer. So thank you very much for listening to this today, and I hope you learned something about it. And again, go onto YouTube and you might be able to find some more videos, more stories of people like me.
And Judy, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
My name is Judy Seiler, and I live in Guilford, outside the one and only Brattleboro. I'm very fortunate to have been introduced to NAMI a few years ago. I'm currently Vice President of NAMI. I teach the family to family, and I also train the trainers who facilitate and teach family to family. I always hate, we use the word teach, but we really just facilitate, and I learn more from the members of my groups than I think they get from me. We have an outline, we have a mission, but it's a shared environment. I also have the support group that's been over 30 years in Brattleboro, facilitate that, and we also have a one-day class that I'm a trained facilitator for that's open to everyone.
Wow, that's neat. And Claire?
Yes, I'm Claire Minot, and I actually live in the tiny town of Landgrove, which is in the upper reaches of Bennington County. Presently, I am a NAMI board member. I'm a family support group facilitator in Springfield. I am a provider education facilitator, and we'll talk more about that later. I'm also a connection recovery facilitator, and I will talk in great detail about that. Now, the way I got to NAMI is my son got ill, left home, and I was lost like family members are. And I took the family-to-family class from Joyce Berland, and I learned that I didn't cause it, it's not my fault, and I got all the help I needed, and this was like in 94 or 95, and I've been involved with NAMI ever since. And NAMI has a way of capturing you and never letting you go. And I'm happy
In
to
a
be
good
here.
way.
In a good way.
That's a great message, and
In a
you
good
know,
way.
this is what this show will be all about, is focusing on that, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I have questions for all of you. So what I want to do is, you were talking a lot about support groups and, you know, what the groups are all about. Could we start there? Maybe each one of you talk a little bit about the different groups or the different things that you teach. Maybe Mitzi, you could start with In Your Own Voice.
The In Our Own Voice program is a program where people go around and do a presentation, and it's a set presentation. It's not a support group, except for that our presentation is broken down into 5 segments, and at the end of each segment, we invite conversation or questions from the audience. So we do engage with the question and answer format, so people are able to ask questions and learn quite a bit about us from that.
And you have trainings for that?
Yes, we
you
have
teach-
trainings.
Yeah.
We
What's involved with that?
Sorry?
What's involved with that?
Oh, so it's a weekend-long program, and we're doing our first one in Vermont tentatively scheduled for the first weekend in June. So we're hoping to get a Vermont Interim Voice program started. I'm it right now, so we're working on that.
That's so important, and I remember sharing my story and how that impacted people, and I think by doing this and having more people be able to share their stories, I think this is what, this is how we're going to educate people, not only to know more about mental illness and NAMI and all that, but also to fight the stigmas. And I
Yes.
think that's very important. So
That's a
good for
big
you.
part of the.
I would like to know more about it. So keep me up to date. If I could find transportation, I'd love to go down and maybe take the training myself.
Yes, we're holding it in Burlington.
Burlington.
Yes. So, and for support groups in general, these will tell you more about them, but I went to a specific bipolar support group for a couple weeks. We don't have one up here, but there's one in New York. And for me, support groups, it's like the Inner Own Voice program. Support groups, when you're sitting around with people like you, who understand your experience. And
Exactly.
being in a bipolar support group, I was in a room with people just like me. People were asking me questions about what it was like to be a mom with bipolar disorder. We were all really sharing. I actually came out of it kind of manic, but it was in a good way.
Yeah.
But these guys will tell you more about support groups. I think they're invaluable, and it's one of the things that NAMI really offers as a coping skill. For
Well, I'm grateful that NAMI is picking up the In Your Own Voice. It sounds really exciting, and would definitely like to do more with that.
Yep. Well, I'm here. If you have any questions.
So, Judy, we want to go to you. Now, you said that you facilitated a lot of, is it training or
I do.
groups or education parts? Or?
I facilitate family to family. It's one of NAMI's signature programs. And Claire also is trained family to family facilitator. And currently, I am one of the folks in Vermont that helps train the folks that want to give family to family. And we're always looking for more people that are interested in doing this. As you say, with a peer group, how valuable it is. It's also valuable for family members,
Yeah, absolutely.
friends, to have a peer group that understands, because the same thing that you go through where you feel isolated, angry, upset in a crisis, the family members
Exactly.
are mirroring. We're in a crisis. How can we help our family members? And I always say, you have the diseases where people bring casseroles, and we're in the one that our
The no
that
casserole.
our friends and our kids' friends or our family members' friends often disappear. And there we are, and we become so isolated. And I say our family-to-family class takes you from anger and frustration to empathy and compassion,
Yeah.
and from isolation to participation.
Right. And absolutely, I went through a time with my mother where it was so hard for her to understand, but also how's she going to deal with this? She had many
Yes.
children, and when you have a child that's chronically mentally ill, there's decisions you have to make that are really hard. So they didn't have anything like you're talking about, the
Right.
family to family, which would be so important. And oftentimes family members don't understand,
No.
and they just don't know how to or where to go to get help. So I'm really glad that they have this. Now, I don't know if they have any family to family here in the Upper Valley or anywhere around here.
There is one in New Hampshire.
There is.
Yeah, and it's meets. They have the 12-week program at DHMC.
Oh, nice.
So there is a group over there who does that I'm starting to work with to expand some stuff in New Hampshire.
That would be nice to get more information about, too.
Yeah, and I from my perspective, and most consumers who I work with, we think the family members have a harder time.
They do.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
then
thank
They
you, but
care.
I think you folks are
They care
heroes.
so much.
I
They
think
do.
you're all
When you're
heroes.
on the outside and you want to help, and there's nothing,
Yeah.
it's very hard to do that.
Yes.
And so I
We-
applaud you guys getting through
Well,
it.
we applaud you,
And being there for people that, are just starting to go through this and, they need somebody,
Well, that's the unfortunate thing, is we often don't catch people when they first start going through it, because it's because of the nature of it. People don't talk about it enough. That's why it's so wonderful you're having this program, because to reach out, in our class Thursday night, we had it's sort of a whole night of kind of compassion and empathy night that we talk about in our class. And people just sat there in tears saying, why didn't someone tell me about this years ago? If I could have been there in a better way for my family member. And so, people can go to NAMI.org, people can go to NAMI Vermont. sign up for our family-to-family groups. The more people are signed up, we'll try to have a program, do our best to have a program in that area where we get to share and we get to re-educate, educate, support, and help try to give people hope.
That's
I was
so
diagnosed
important.
when I was 42 years old.
Yeah.
I've lived with it for 42 years.
I think I was 13.
I have no idea. Right. So I wish I'd known what it was, but we didn't used to talk about it.
And our family members wish we understood sooner. You know?
Yeah, and you know, in bringing that to a personal level for me, I think that when I went into marriage with my husband that's schizophrenic, I had no clue what he needed, never mind the fact of what I needed,
Right.
you know. So we both had to educate each other about both of us together, you know, because I have this one and he has that one, and how do you live together? Thank God, we've been married 18 years. This
Oh
is
my
how we
gosh,
got
that's
it, yes.
wonderful.
A lot of help.
That is
We've had a lot of
wonderful.
help. And I want to talk to you too, because you are,
Yeah, I do the Connection Recovery Support Group that I'll
talk
talk
a
about
little
in a
bit about
minute.
that.
I just want to interject that our family support groups are in Georgia, St. Johnsbury, Berlin, White River Junction, Manchester, Rutland, Springfield, and Brattleboro. So I just want to mention that when Judy's talking about people who want help, and if there are enough people in one area, we'll start a support group. 3 people from a town call and say, we want a support group here, we'll show up. We're very flexible. The Connection Recovery Support Group is relatively new in the state of Vermont, maybe 5 or 6 years old, maybe. It is a support group of, by, and for people living with mental illness. And it sort of follows the family model. It's totally confidential. It's a place where peers can feel comfortable sharing. I help co-facilitate the group at the Brattleboro Retreat and Rutland Regional Medical Center that has a psychiatric unit. And soon we're going to start in the new state hospital, which is Vermont Psychiatric Care Hospital in Berlin, and possibly a group in Montpelier. But the joy of this is when people are being hospitalized, you know, there's isolation, there's loneliness, and it gives a place where people feel comfortable to share. There's a lot of discussion about suicide attempts and suicide ideation, and people feel comfortable talking about it. I had one gentleman say that his last attempt, he tried to jump off a building, and he only broke his leg, and he said, I guess the message is the next time I have to choose a taller building. And so, you know, the sense of humor that people have in the midst of a great deal of sadness. But I mean, we talk about medications and how to talk to your psychiatrist and a lot of good stuff. And it's really, I always learn things, and the wide variety of people who are handling things and trying to work in recovery. And I really enjoy doing it. So I also do the provider education class.
Okay, talk a little bit about that.
The provider education class was written by Joyce Berland, who wrote everything else, the family to family class and the connection program. It's for people who are delivering services in the mental health agencies, in hospitals, wherever. And the goal is to have a panel of 2 people living with mental illness, 2 providers, and a mental health professional to help providers understand what is our perception of what we're dealing with. What is it like to deal with mental illness? What if you're dealing with somebody who sits there for 5 minutes and he has that delay in answering? And how do you cope with family members who call up and say, how can you do this to my family member? Why can't you fix it? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
The state's paying you, fix it. And so our programs help the providers understand the anger, frustration, all the things that family members feel. So we've
Where is
gotten
that?
very,
Where is that?
we give it at agencies. We give it at, you know, Healthcare and Rehabilitation Service, United Counseling, Howard, wherever we're invited, we come.
Oh, that's-
Schools.
And all of our programs are supported in part by the Department of Mental Health, and they do that because we are doing their work. because we're part of recovery, we're part of making everything better, and they recognize how valuable they are, and that's why they support us financially. So, yeah, which they should. And, but, you know.
Our things have been proven to be evidence-based programs.
Yep.
mhm.
So it improves, they've shown statistics that it improves the outcome for the family,
Mhm.
which is, what we want to see. We want to see, I say you teach or you train one person and you can affect 100 or more.
That's
you know.
it. That's it. It's really. I mean, you're educating me more about what NAMI is than I've ever known. I knew that they were support for family, but I did not know about like in our own voices or about
Connection,
the
yeah.
connection
Connections.
groups and everything that you guys do, and it's just so important, and it just blows me away. I want to make sure we get everything.
Well, I
Talk about everything.
I just want to
because
follow up on
this is
what,
great.
on what Judy said. She said if you find one person, she and I do support groups, and sometimes if there's only 2 people there, that's fine.
Yep.
Because you never know when somebody's gonna walk in that door, like you walked in a door once. And we never let you go, right?
No.
But you never know, and people are so appreciative. I
Yeah.
can understand why Judy continues with family to family, because they fall on the floor weeping with the knowledge that they're receiving, and they're so grateful. It is a transformative experience to take the family to family class.
And,
Right.
and I just say this is my new family, because we all get it, we understand.
Mhm.
And, we've got the same hopes and goals and dreams for each other, and it's just wonderful to share it with each other and share it with other people.
So this is really rewarding for all
Oh,
three
yeah.
of you, the work that
Oh,
you
yeah.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I found that true for walking through life too, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. Who would have thought, though, that I'd be on TV? When I was a
There you
kid, I
go.
might have dreamed of being on TV. But I had 3 wishes. I wanted to be a TV star, a doctor, and a teacher.
Well, you're a teacher and a star.
Yeah, and kind of therapy. When you come to the show, it's kind of therapy.
You've
but
kinda got all
peer-
3.
Peer support, yeah, So I like to think of that as kind of like a little mark that my life was marked for this. Even though all the struggles that I went through in my life, finding recovery.
There are
I
no
think,
coincidences.
as you know,
No.
finding recovery is so important. But it's not to say this is never going to happen again.
Yep.
But it's how do we live with it now? What can we do to make it better for not only ourselves but for others? And it's just so important.
What I like to say is every crisis is an opportunity.
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
I moved to New York City because of my crisis. I needed the one. I had one this fall, and I said I've got to do something bigger with NAMI.
And there you go.
And there's just been so many opportunities down
Isn't
there.
that wonderful?
Yeah. We work with a lot of students at the mental hospitals, kids from Columbia and NYU and such who come into the hospital
Oh,
because they're
wonderful.
under so much pressure.
Mhm.
And they're the one, we connect with them every time. We talk about how they can really, they're so young, and this is their opportunity to really understand who they are and move forward with it.
Isn't that exciting?
So that kind of stuff is great. Don't you wish you had more knowledge when you were 15?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I never wanted to tell anybody that I didn't know how to read or write. I always wanted to look like the smart one. And when I got into recovery and I started going to the Turning Point Club, there was somebody there that noticed that, and I said, no, I just haven't got my glasses or whatever. And they kind of knew, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can't read or write. And they're like, do you want to learn? I said, well, you don't understand. The teacher says I couldn't. Do you want to learn? I said, I told you. They said I couldn't. Do you want to learn? So I didn't have any other option. I said, well, yes, I want to learn, damn it. So I says, okay. And he came back the next day, the executive director up there, purchased the Hooked on Phonics program. And he goes, here you go. Now all you got to do is go out there and ask the volunteers to help you.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it was so rewarding, not only for me, but
How
for the
exciting.
volunteers. Yeah.
How exciting.
How old were you?
Yeah. Let's see, I first got in recovery when I was 36. So I think it was about 2 years after that, so I must have been 38.
When you
Isn't that
learned how to read and write?
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
good
how
for you.
how can anybody not have hope hearing a story like that?
Yeah, I know. It was just so rewarding for me to actually, because I have borderline, and oftentimes we don't think that people like us or they want anything to do with us.
Yep.
And just to see everybody come and just want to help and want to give you that attention, and it was just the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me. So.
Awesome.
What a
That's
wonderful
great. That's a
story.
great story.
Yeah, I've come so far. I mean, So I just remember the path that I was on, and then all was not having any hope for nothing at all, and then finding it. It's kind of like, it didn't come all at once. It's little by little, and I still, like you said, I still have crises now and then, but.
You should be an interim voice presenter.
That's what I
Yes,
just
that'd be
wanted to
great.
say.
I'd
Good,
love
you come to
it.
the training in
Oh my gosh, it would be
June.
so
Yeah.
exciting if you did
I'd
that.
have to get there.
Well,
We'll-
I'll get a van.
We'll
Okay,
get you
there
there.
Bring everybody
Van.
up. Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
no, I'd love to. I'd love to come down and do that. It would be great.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people can you take, Mitzi?
I do.
Yeah.
I will. I'm going to training this weekend. Train the trainer, so I'll let you know. We'll get that out there,
That's
For
wonderful.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
and we can always do more. We'll just do more
We
training.
can do it more times. Yeah.
Bring you down here.
Isn't that
Yeah.
great?
Yeah. This gives me hope because Hartford isn't very big as far as support groups and, all right here, we don't have that. That's why another reason why I think this show is so important here in Hartford is because this is an opportunity for us to learn more about NAMI and the services that you have and, get people like me that get excited about it, and really want to
Yes.
participate,
It is. It's hard to get the word out. When we went to the first support group, we said, why didn't anyone tell us?
Yeah.
And it's just, it saved us. My husband will tell everybody, it saved our marriage, it saved us. We were just desperate and alone, and it was really a hard time.
We do have a family support group at the VA hospital.
I thought so.
Yeah, we do. Once a month.
Now, do you have to be a veteran to use that? 'Cause
No,
that's
no,
what I
no, no,
thought.
it's an open meeting. All of our meetings are open.
All of our meetings are
So you
open.
can just
All of
go
our
to the
meetings
VA
are
and go
open.
to that meeting
Yeah,
anytime.
absolutely. Any
Now, where do
family,
you go when you get to the VA to go to that?
you can go on our website and get directions.
Okay.
Or I'm gonna give people my phone number, they can call me.
Hey, that's a good idea.
For the personal touch.
Yeah.
My-
Yeah, you'd be there.
My phone number is listed on the NAMI Vermont website,
Yeah.
and we take calls and we direct people to
Mhm.
where they can go
Yeah.
in the parts of the state. And
Absolutely.
our support group is the first Wednesday of the month in West Brattleboro, the Congregational Church at 6:30. It's been there over 30 years.
That's great. I just think this is all great. And I want to go back and talk about where we were talking about teenage years and things like that. Is there anything, as far as NAMI goes, involved in the schools?
Yes, we do our interim voice programs into the schools.
Yeah.
And I recently did some advocacy in New York State for actually bringing formal programs into schools. So it's something that's really just in embryo stage, but
Getting
it's
going.
definitely something, but it's a big one for us. We present to entire middle schools, entire high schools. We get out there and they're all out there and they ask us questions and they're really intrigued.
So if there is a school or, say, a place that would like to find out more about in our own voices or find out more about using their place to facilitate any NAMI
Yes.
group or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
They can
you'd be able-
contact.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And you've done provider ed for schools.
Well, yeah, the Springfield school system asked us to do provider ed. And so we had special education teachers and nurses and general school teachers and administrators. And they were thrilled to death to get the information because, when it happens, you don't know what it is. And, when it's a young child, you don't know what it is. And family members don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And there's a
And-
stigma behind it as well.
And
Right.
plus, a lot of caregivers in schools they're like extra parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And they
No.
want to know how to help the kids.
Yeah.
Or nurses and administrators, they don't know how to help the families, and it's heartbreaking. So we've had quite a few educators and come and take the mental illness and recovery, the one-day class. It's sort of a mini.
Do you want to talk about that right now?
Sure, I
It's right
could.
on the agenda.
It's sort of a mini version of Family to Family, and we kind of base it. We also have a guidebook that's available that a lot of agencies have, where you can contact NAMI. The guidebook has overviews about mental health and mental illness and some of the things that we teach in the classes and where you can go to get information. And so our one-day class is just chock full of information. We cram it into one day, and it's open to anyone. And we just had we just gave one in the Brattleboro area a few months ago, and we had providers and teachers and nurses from schools that took it, and they were just overwhelmed. They just said, "This is fabulous." They were so excited. They said, "We're going to tell our families and tell folks about NAMI," because it just was so helpful to them.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say one thing too, is as I sat on the governor's committee for employing people with disabilities for a lot of times. And I was really encouraged because my husband worked at Price Chopper, and the manager there wanted to find out more about mental illness, because she hired a lot of people. She wanted to find out more. And I believe that she went to just what you're talking about. I think that somebody from the governor's committee gave her information. She probably
For the
did
one-day
that.
class.
Yeah, so it was really exciting, and it's exciting to see more organizations and more people, whether they're bosses or whatever, who want to get involved and really learn about it,
And
Really.
we can bring that into an agency or a business.
Yeah.
We can bring that one-day class right into a
That would
place
be so,
and
yeah.
do it. So that's another thing, industries, businesses, companies, they can have that class for their employees or
That's
their
right.
HR or their staff, yeah.
Yeah, or in employees too, because oftentimes, you find when you're working someplace and somebody doesn't quite understand or doesn't know anything about it, they have a problem with that. So I can see that too, obviously, as maybe having one of those classes in, like the big like Shaw's or Price Choppers or
Sure.
anywhere, any of those. And I think a lot of them are open to doing that, and I think that's important, so I
That's
could really see
exciting.
great things with that.
So hopefully we can get, that somebody watches this and hears about it and gets the message out, and they can contact our office in Williston, NAMI Vermont, and ask for it, and we can put it together.
And make sure if you do that you let the governor's committee know. I'm sure they would love to hear that would be something you guys are offering.
Well, and the Department of Mental Health helps support all of our programs, so.
That's real important.
And so, no, we report to them, we let them know what we're doing.
Mhm.
It almost sounds like when I'm listening to you, Linda, I'm thinking, hooking up with Voc Rehab or,
Yeah.
when you're talking about hiring somebody with a disability, as an employer, what do I need to do?
Exactly.
How can I talk to somebody? What are the barriers of communication? And what if somebody needs a nap from 1 to 2?
Yeah.
Because of the medication, and I take it at lunch and I need a nap.
Yeah.
And, reasonable accommodations should be a right. And we need to talk about it.
You know,
Exactly.
the mental illness is the #1 most stigmatized thing in the country,
Yes, it
over
is.
race and sexual orientation.
Yep.
And that needs to change.
It sure does. It does. But I'm finding now, after doing the show, people that don't know me specifically, that do shows that aren't around mental illness, they don't know me. When they find out I have a severe mental illness,
They don't believe it.
they don't believe it. It's like I
You're
had.
pretending.
No, I had Senator
Same for me.
McCormick on the show. We were talking, and one of the questions to him was, what about children that didn't finish school and didn't get an education? We're talking about that, and I said, yeah, I only completed school in the 6th grade. And he looked at me, and he goes, I thought you had a college degree. No. So it's
Yes.
just that you don't see it.
You
until
don't see it.
And if you make it aware, then you could see the positives right along with it.
Absolutely.
The struggles, you can see that.
We have professors and doctors and lawyers, and people don't know that
They don't know.
they have no idea, because we were talking about this before the program. You're some of our most gifted people in the world. You're a gift, and many people that suffer from mental illness are quite brilliant, quite creative, quite amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't even, people don't realize,
No.
Yeah.
Many people that, they go on and on about, they'd be shocked to know that person's struggling and has their dark times, and
Yeah.
people don't see it. They
Yeah,
don't
because
realize.
we don't show it unless it's a crisis or in a need that we need it. And one of the things that I have found that's one of my outlets, absolutely, is like in the wintertime I draw or I write. That's my activity in the wintertime. But in the summertime I have my flower gardens that I work in. And this year, when I was a kid, I grew up with fairies and I loved fairies. So I said, maybe I'll create a fairy garden. And I did. The most pleasure I get is sitting at my picnic table and having people walk by and tell me how much they like it. Or now the kids coming back and forth 2 or 3 times a day to see it.
Did you know there's actual chemical in dirt that makes you feel better?
Really? No, I didn't know
I
that.
just learned that a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
I guess that's
That's
why I
why
like,
gardening is so therapeutic.
and I garden
Yeah.
without gloves on.
Yeah.
I always
Well,
do.
so you
I
get your
love-
hands in the
I
dirt.
love
I
that.
love getting my hands in the
Yeah.
dirt.
It's
so-
earthy, it's earthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People say, well, we're going to have a vegetable garden. You want to put something on? I said, no, but if you got extra vegetables, I'll take some. I'm more into the flowers.
Me too.
I know, everybody
too.
has their own
And
gardening
I think that's-
specialty.
Yeah, but I think that's important too when you're talking about the support groups in NAMI, is everybody can find something that, they want to do. And oftentimes it's something that somebody else has tried, that they like, and I mean, there's just so
Absolutely.
many opportunities.
And that's a nice, I just want to throw out there, one of the things, no one group does it all, and we like to work with each other. And one of the things that's exciting that I recommend to all the folks that I get involved with is to take RAP. And that part of RAP
Yes, we've
is
been talking
finding,
about RAP.
part of RAP is finding everyone has their own toolbox. What works for you?
So what represents RAP? What are the,
Wellness Recovery Action Plan.
okay,
And it's they have RAP for everyone. RAP for kids, RAP for high school kids, RAP for adults, RAP for addiction. It's you name it, and it's based on hope, support, self-advocacy, education, and you put together a plan for wellness.
yeah.
And it's just so exciting and
Yeah,
fun.
and oftentimes during that plan, it's stuff that only you know that makes you feel better.
Yes.
Like watching The Walking Dead instead of Grey's Anatomy.
Yes. Yes.
We like Outlander. Lots of
Oh, yeah,
things.
that's a good one too.
Right.
But there's emotions in that one. Walking Dead has no emotion, just lots of blood and zombies.
And-
Yeah, well,
and-
we
and-
also like Once Upon a Time, so.
Oh, I used to love that.
Man, that's a good show.
And that's like everyone knows every class I take or every class I facilitate. Everybody knows my golden retrievers or one of the things that they take care of me. People
Yeah,
say
was it Mary Ellen Copeland that
Mary
wrote
Ellen
that book?
Copeland,
Yeah, yes.
yes,
Because I
develop-
actually went down and did a rap class, and it's just wonderful. It's wonderful.
isn't
And
it?
to be able to use that, take what that is and get a book, and you could take it and take it home. When things look bad or starting to, you go back to it and say, oh, I did that.
Yes.
It's like corporate meditation and imagination and fantasy.
Yes.
That's all my stuff that makes me feel better.
It's wonderful. And
It
you
is.
have your personal plan that you write for yourself.
Yep.
And then you actually do a crisis plan
Yep.
that you share with your supporters.
Right, so they know how to help you in a crisis.
And
Absolutely.
so, and it's a different kind of crisis because you're not completely out of control. Even though other people may need to take over, you've planned it.
Yep.
So it's great. So,
I think the RAP program is very good, and I understand they use it in the hospitals now.
they're bringing it into the schools, they bring it into the hospitals. It's a program that's absolutely wonderful, and it's good for everyone, and I recommend it to my family members, I recommend it to the consumers. It's just a wonderful, wonderful tool for everyone to have.
I want to make sure that we covered everything. So I want to make sure that we covered everything that we were going to talk about. Let's just check. to make
Advocacy,
sure.
we need to talk
Advocacy,
about
there
that.
you go. And, other events, what's coming up for that? So, do you want to do the, I can't even say that word.
Advocacy.
I try. It's kind of like soldier. Hey, I said it. Usually I say shoulder. So there's
Funeral.
words that I don't pronounce right. So. Well, let's talk about the now I'm not gonna be able to
Advocacy.
say it.
Advocacy,
Let's talk about that first. It says here, educate Vermont legislators,
yes,
mental health advocacy day.
Yes.
Work groups, committees.
yes. We encourage, in all of our groups, our support groups, our classes, we encourage everyone to, we want to get rid of stigma, we want to get more money for, people complain about this, that, and the other thing, and they say, well, why is this and why is that? Well, it's really hard for legislators to advocate with their constituents for more money for mental health.
Yep.
They're able to, they've done studies and they've shown that they can say, oh, I want to build a prison, or I want to get more policemen, and the voters go, yeah. And then when they say, well, I want to have community-supported, reasonable housing for people with mental illness, they have a very hard time, for some reason, getting the support for that. And that's why we try to educate and get out there and explain that if we have community-supported housing and reasonable housing, we will need less policemen, we'll need
Exactly,
less
yeah.
emergency personnel,
Well,
need less
Hartford-
prisons.
Here in Hartford, the police chief here they've got actually a social worker that goes with them if needed.
We
and
do too.
They've had training.
Was
The
it-
police
was
officers
it police?
We do
training.
too. We
I go in
have,
and do interim voice programs for the CIT
Do
training.
you?
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
We-
Because I find them, the police department really, ever since, I don't know, it's been, I don't know, since when me and Ted moved downtown, I think it was in 2000, that's when they kind of started with it. And I noticed the difference when they were dealing with people with mental illness. And I'm like, hey, they're getting it, you know?
Brattleboro prides themselves
Yeah.
on working in crisis situations. They send their policemen out to get training.
Yep.
We have Kristen from HCRS that
Mhm.
works with the teams.
Yep.
And they have a whole team effort to support crises and try to prevent them and talk things down and keep it calm. And it's very exciting,
It is.
very exciting that, and they,
It warms my heart sometimes to see the things that we've got now compared to, you know, in the worst days of when, you know, I was growing up or when I was a young teenager or a young adult that was in and out of the hospital all the time, you know. It warms my heart to see how far that we have come and be able to sit and say, yeah, I have this problem and not be ashamed of it, but to actually show that our path, it's a beautiful one, you know. It is.
absolutely.
We just have to know ourselves that we're beautiful, and oftentimes, if you agree with me, oftentimes it's so hard to see that. It's so hard
Oh,
to see that, you know.
Isn't it? I mean, that's
It is.
one
Other
we,
people can see it, but
And
if they
that's-
tell you that,
yeah.
oftentimes, you know, it's like
You don't
no, not
believe 'em.
really. Yeah, exactly. So
that's why something like CBT is so good.
yeah,
You know, it's CBT, so this is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's about not judging yourself
exactly.
and not judging your thoughts,
Mhm.
which is hard to do.
Yeah.
It's
But with
really
practice.
hard.
With
It's really
practice.
hard.
And
I
everyone
learned
needs
that.
that.
I also learned that in Louise Hay's book, How to Heal Your Life. It was a lot of, okay, so you say you can't look in the mirror and look at yourself because this is wrong with you and that's wrong with you. Now I want you to take it just the opposite and look in the mirror and tell yourself how much you love yourself. And, you know, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that. But I put it all over Facebook all the time. I put it on Facebook all the time. Yeah, I did this today. Boy, don't I love myself. Aren't I pretty? You know, and I just go overboard with it
You
sometimes.
put,
Good.
you're
It makes me
positive.
feel
You
good.
put that
Good.
positive energy out.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, it
I love
is.
Louise Hay.
Yeah.
She's got great CDs and books, and it's just all positive thinking.
It's hard to do positive affirmations, but I
Mhm.
think once you learn how to do it, you know, it's...
So I hope
It's
that's
good.
in your toolbox in your rep plan.
Oh, yeah, for sure. right along with playing with my teddy bear. My husband gave me a teddy bear, so whenever I get down and about, you know, we'll sit there and he'll bring the teddy bear out to watch TV with me. But that's what I want.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed. Okay, I play with teddy bears.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes to
I
feel
love
good.
my teddy bear.
Presenters that I've worked with have rooms full of Barbie dolls.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they have, it's whatever you need. And, you know, you don't be ashamed because it's making you well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's helping out. You know? Yeah.
I always say to family members that are overworked and just going round and round in circles, I say, you know, you can't tell people this is what I say. You have to do it. You have to model health. And that's what's exciting about both of you. You're modeling health and sending that message out. And we try to do the same thing for our families. And sometimes it's really hard just to find a little bit of time with, you know, you send people home from RAP and you send people home from family to family with homework. Find something nice to do for yourself this week.
Absolutely.
That's
And you know,
sometimes hard
another
to do.
thing I like to say too is that oftentimes we feel like people don't want to hear our stories or people don't want to hear about us or whatever. When actually I found it's just the opposite. People do want to hear.
Oh,
Whatever you
yeah.
want to share, they want to hear it.
They do.
You know?
They're
They do.
intrigued.
Exactly.
And you know, there are so many people, as we talked about earlier. I mean, I would, at the CIT trainings with the police department, we have people fill out, at all presentations, we have people fill out
Questionnaire.
feedback, right? And I can't tell you how many people in the police department have it written on there, I am a consumer and I would like to get involved.
There
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Of course.
everybody, you know,
You know, I had
It's
a girl,
there.
when I first started walking through life, I approached a young lady and I said, you know, it would be awesome if you might think, oh no, I'm not going to be on camera. I said, well, if you can turn around and look at it this way, is that if you do share your story, you're going to help so many others. It took her 10 years. It took her 10 years since she finally came to me. She goes, yep, I'm ready. She did a wonderful job.
Oh,
and that's what it
And
takes.
she goes, it took me 10 years. And I said, hey, that's all
One
right.
day at a time.
That's right. And she did a wonderful job, and you know, it got plastered all over Facebook, and she loves it. And it's a high rating pickup show on Facebook. You know,
How
it's great.
exciting.
You know,
It is. It's wonderful.
it is.
Judy, do you want to talk about the conference on Tuesday, May 7th?
Yes, Tuesday,
17th?
Tuesday, May 17th at Lake Maury Resort, we're having a conference. We're going to have Robert Whitaker speak, and we're going to have Andrew Sperling from NAMI National is going to speak. We're going to have 6 people to choose from to take 2 workshops.
Nice.
If you go to our website, you can see all the choices. We also we're trying to find out. Our plan was to have Louis Montalban, who's an amazing speaker, national speaker, with a dog named Tuesday. He's written 2 books, has a 3rd one coming out this spring. He just had surgery, so we're just checking to make. We're going to see if he
He's gonna be able to come?
if he indeed is still going to be able to come. But if not, we're going to get another speaker, or one of our workshop presenters is probably going to be speaking. But it's a wonderful day. Lake Maury's a lovely place.
Good time of year to be
And
there.
It's a good time of the year to be there. You're right by the water. They have wonderful, it's a wonderful all-day event. We have a number of people that will be exhibiting and bringing literature, and it's always just a really fun day. So
We'll all be there.
Yeah, we'll be there. So of course you want to come. So it's and it's for anyone. It's for consumers. It's for family members. It's for providers. You do not have to belong to NAMI. It's for absolutely anyone, and it'll be a really fun day. You can go to NAMI Vermont and sign up.
Absolutely. And there's a few other things on here too that.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the walk, Claire?
Yep, the walk and the walk.
Yeah, the walk is going to be on, is it
September 25th.
September 25th.
September 25th, which is a Saturday, I assume?
Sunday.
Sunday?
It's gonna be a Sunday
I'm
this
sorry.
year.
Okay, it's Sunday. It's one of our fundraising events. We get a large turnout. We have lots of tables, lots of information. Usually we invite a couple of political speakers. We have done that in the past.
Have a band.
Yeah, a band,
Music.
and the chief of police in Burlington, Michael Sugarling, used to come, but now we're gonna have a new police chief coming, I hope.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a place to get more information and to be with other people, and it's a beautiful day, and there's food, and it's a very festive thing, and what else do you wanna say? It's basically, I think even if we didn't raise any money, we would have the walk, because the idea of a public event, talking about mental illness, is the way to do it. It's
I
like,
wonder if we could get something like that down here. That would be
Well,
great.
there's one in every
The
state.
community- Well, no, I mean in Hartford, because or something like that.
Yes.
Right,
Not,
similar.
but
An
You can do-
outreach
you
kind
can
of
do
thing.
Because
mini
Hartford
walks.
is such a community that everybody likes to get involved in everything. And wouldn't that be wonderful to do something like that or something?
it could be possible.
It could be
Yeah.
possible. We now have what we call affiliates. We have different areas of the state of Vermont that has their own little NAMI organizations, as well as NAMI Vermont Central Organization. And so that's something in the Brattleboro area. We'll be in the Strolling of the Heifers.
Yes, we will be.
We carry the banners, and we work with the retreat, trying to end stigma and promote programs for folks. And so we'll have a presence in that, which is always really fun. We're always looking for ideas, like having something in Hartford. We're always looking for
Love
NAMI
to do
members.
that.
We're looking for members, and we're looking for people to be on our events committee.
Okay, what's the qualifications to be, that's what it says membership here, so what do you have to do to get a membership?
Just sign up. Go to
That's it?
our website and sign up.
Our annual membership, I believe, is $35.
Yes.
And we have an open membership, which.
Open door membership.
Open door membership, which is only $3.
Yes, if somebody has limited financial
Income, which is a
yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah.
And for that, you get our newsletter, which I believe comes out 4 times a year. You also get the NAMI National Advocate, which is a great magazine covering everything that's happening in the state, and great articles by doctors, and that's free too. So there's no reason not to join. Anybody who has $3 in their pocket can be a member.
Yes.
Nice.
You can take your bottles back to the store.
Hey, there's people that do that.
And it's yes. So we're always looking for folks to get involved, and it's a great group to be a part of. And there's very
Yeah.
simple to join.
And everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome.
And it says down here, board and committees, teachers and facilitators.
Yes, yes, we're always looking for new board members. Claire and I have both been involved with the board. We're looking for folks to be part of In Our Own Voice. There's always new programs and new things that are going to be coming up. We always need more support group facilitators. We always need more family to family. We need more connection groups. So folks that are peers or consumers that would like to be part of a connection group, because there's nothing better than meeting and sharing stories with somebody.
And we really need connection group facilitators. That's a big one, that we are looking for people like you, like me. I've been trained as a connection facilitator, but I've
Yeah.
gotten involved in Inner Own Voice. So we really, really, really need more, especially down in this area.
Yeah.
Can't speak to other areas,
No,
but
we
I know
do,
down
we
there
do,
we
no,
really
we
need
do,
it.
and we do in
Yeah.
Brattleboro too, and,
Yeah.
the training is free,
Yep,
and
and
the.
a weekend?
Yes, it's a weekend, and people say, well, I don't drive, well, we'll get away,
We'll
we'll
get
help,
you there.
we'll
Find
get
us
you
the way.
there.
And you get
We'll get
fed,
you there.
and you get put up in a hotel,
Nice.
so.
All your meals, materials, everything
Everything.
is.
And
don't
they
have to
feed you
spend
well.
them.
They feed you well.
People go just for the food.
Oh, yeah, they
We
do.
had some support groups up to HRS, and that's what it was. In order to get people, that we had to offer pizza.
Yeah.
But then once I got there, then they saw what everything was about, so they liked it, and they took it up on their own. So
But
that's,
maybe you should have your program before they get to eat.
yeah, well, we did, and they got to eat afterwards. It's funny how you have to sort of.
But we're always looking for folks to join and folks with ideas. We're not limited to these fundraisers and the events and the things that we do.
I would
So-
love to do a fundraiser.
So we're
for you guys.
we're always looking for new ideas.
Bless your
and-
child.
Now, I've done a couple fundraisers, one for the Turning Point, one for Friends of Veterans, but the only problem was I was the only one working them, so I didn't have anybody that would, send out like booklets or anything like
Oh.
that, or, because we made it a talent show, so
Oh,
I was not
wow.
only the hostess, but the one that put it together, so,
Wonderful.
one of them went well and the other one kinda bombed. So,
Well, we'll
if
try
I
to-
was to do something like that, I definitely need a lot of help,
Well, you would get it.
okay?
We'll get you
Promise?
help. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
then I'd love to do something like that, I would,
Wonderful.
We'll-
We'd love to
we'll-
have you join us. It would
Let
be
the office
wonderful.
know to call you.
for sure.
And, our office can print invitations and flyers. and,
Yeah.
You know.
That'd be a big help.
Yeah.
For sure. We had a lot of fun with that. We had a lot of contestants and a lot of great people that participated in it. The first one there was really good, so I'd love to do something like that.
That's
again.
quite exciting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for volunteering.
Well, she can be volunteer.
Yeah, it's-
Organizing, facilitating.
Yeah, facilitating.
Yeah, yeah,
Organizing
you can
would
be the
great.
leader and you can have a little ducklings following
Yeah,
after you.
yeah.
The workers.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
be the supervisor and they'll be workers.
Hey, that sounds like a good idea, too. No, I'd help out, too.
I know you would.
But anyway, I just appreciate you guys being here, and I hope this is the only show that we do, and I hope this inspires other people to get involved in NAMI, and also to want to come and share how they can be helpful to NAMI and the things that you guys are doing. I'm so grateful to meet you, and I can't wait to take the training and all of that. So thank you
Great.
guys very, very much for being here.
Thank you for having
And
us.
I hope you
you.
come back and talk about more.
All you have
Oh,
to
we
do is
would love
invite
to.
us.
Yep.
Okay, you're invited.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Yeah. So at the end, I'm gonna put down everybody's information, who they are, how to contact them, the programs, and the whole thing. So anyway, if you are interested in more, please contact one of these people here. And we will see you next time on Walk It to Life. Bye-bye.